Welcome to This Week in Local, a Locology podcast featuring lively conversations about the local digital ecosystem, hosted by Locology analysts Mike Bolin and Charles Lachlan.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Local. I'm Mike Bolin, joined by Charles Lachlan. Hey, Charlie, how's it going?
Mike, it's going well. How are you doing?
Good. So what are you working on? What are you looking at this week?
Well, I came across something just sort of as you look around for things that are interesting. And a headline kind of smacked me in the face as I was going through my, all the stories I save. And it was that OpenAI has about 12 months of cash left, essentially. That, if it doesn't raise like gobs of money in the next year, it could be insolvent, essentially. And there's a bunch of reporting across the internet based on something that was in the information. I read it's kind of a rewrite of the information story, to be fair, to the original source. But what it basically said is that OpenAI stands to lose possibly $5 billion in 2024. That's this year, of course. And that it's just burning gobs of cash. I guess that part isn't surprising to anyone because as you and I have discussed, I think a few times before on this show, in talking about the context of, what is a real AI startup and if it's true deep tech AI or just sort of the layer on top of ChatGPT AI, the true AI is just enormously expensive, as we've discussed. OpenAI is sort of the mother lode of expensive AI building because they apparently have spent about something like $5 to $7 billion on training ChatGPT, and they've got apparently about 300,000 servers just devoted to ChatGPT, and it costs about $700,000 a day to keep that thing chugging along. And apparently this is all adding up, and to the point where there's just an unsustainable cash burn. And this is a company that's raised, I think $13 billion. Microsoft has put $13 billion into this thing. They've raised a lot of money, and a lot of money has been invested in this. Let's just put it that way. And so, what's going on? And I think my takeaway, two takeaways that I just from reading this thing, and okay, there's a lot of money going out the door. There's a lot of people with heads down, just trying to build AGI and not get too distracted by the financial turmoil. If that's not too strong, it doesn't sound like it is going on. It points to two things. One is, does it really have a proper business model yet? It does have revenue. It's making a few billion a year from access fees and subscriptions, which is sort of what we understand are the current business models for ChatGPT. But what is the business model that gets them out of this? I don't know. That's a question. The other question is, if this year comes up and this looming insolvency actually happens, who's the bailout? Who's bailing them out? And the headline I wrote on the thing I wrote about this was, is OpenAI too good to fail? And when I say too good, I don't mean too virtuous. That wasn't a value judgment there. It was too good in the sense of, I guess, too important, but have they created something that's too monumental?
No, it's going to let them die. No,
right? That's kind of what I'm saying, yeah. So I don't know, Mike, what do you think? What do you think? On the business model question, maybe we can start with there. Any thoughts there?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, they're going to be just fine. Just to cap that off, because
I tend to agree.
I think there are folks lining up to fund them. I think it's not the best outcome for them because they further dilute themselves. But I don't think they're just going to run out of money and oh well, okay, that's it. There's going to be
I ended the piece saying that seemed like the least likely outcome.
Yeah,
that they just run out of money and disappear.
The very least is going to be follow-on investment from Microsoft and all their other investors who are going to be, I think, all into double down.
But it has to be huge. It's going to have to be massive investments.
Yeah. Well, right, yeah, and I think that this really sort of points to a few sort of macro themes in AI. This is a classic sort of blitz scaling situation where it's just grow and capture market share at all costs. Because I think that everyone knows that we're in sort of an AI bubble in terms of the amount of demand that's out there for the technology, and there's simply too much supply in this sort of ramp up period, this period of exuberance, and it's all about capturing market share so that you're left standing when there's a shakeout. And I think OpenAI is in pole position to be that. And I think only after that stage, when you capture that market share and you get economies of scale, do you then become profitable in terms of, one, having enough sort of demand and usage in terms of top line, but then also, sort of getting down all those server costs and the compute intensivity of all of this. So I think that until then, it's all about just capturing market share, growing. So I think that's what we're seeing now. And I think that that's sort of the business case when they, go to investors to find more. So I think that
I wonder,
Go ahead.
I wonder if OpenAI, because of, they're sort of the mother lode of all AI development.
Yeah.
They're sort of bearing the brunt of all of these, the intense costs, et cetera.
Well, not only that,
might be the greatest beneficiary if, they can find ways to drive more efficiency in how models are trained and all that sort of thing.
Right, and the first company out of the gates is the one that gets all the arrows in their backs. There's a little bit of that, and they're doing the rest of the market a favor in that sense, as you point out. But also, it
echoes. Yeah,
the first mover. I think their first mover goals outweigh all of that.
And it feels like almost sort of echoes of Amazon here, like years and years of saying Amazon is what the hell, they just lose all this money all the time. And
that was more of a deliberate. Yeah. That was more of a deliberate accounting principle in terms of reinvesting so that they have less taxable income in terms of just their bottom line.
Right.
There's a lot of that going on too.
Yeah, fair enough. But there was that. Oh God, Amazon! How do they even stay alive because they lose so damn much money? No one really. I think some people certainly understood what was really going on. Yeah. But then, that talk eventually stopped, and now here they are. No one gives a damn if they're profitable or not. They own it. They own the world, essentially. Right. And I don't know if OpenAI is sort of deliberately, head faking us with their quote unquote financial turmoil, or if this is. Yeah. I don't think that necessarily is the case, but
all the costs you mentioned are real. I mean, it's just so compute intensive. In terms,
I think that's what's really going on.
They've cut that down to a certain degree by owning their own servers, as opposed to just having a massive AWS bill.
Sounds like they're going to have to buy some more. And apparently, another sort of angle there is that Microsoft is giving some Azure credits. They're trying to do some things to bring their costs down.
I bet they are. No, that makes sense.
But I'm not sure how much. Well, that's probably makes a difference. I'm sure it makes a difference, but. Does it make enough of a difference?
Yeah.
Again, kind of back to the beginning, it's just almost impossible to imagine the company that built ChatGPT that kind of unleashed this, whirlwind, is going to end up being a loser, being out of.
Well, the other thing that they're going to eventually do when they do capture all that market share and everyone else sort of falls away is likely raise their prices.
Right.
Because if you look at their model, it's sort of twofold now, and there'll be a lot more to it. But the main sort of tent poles of their model are, one, just sort of licensing fees from APIs for enterprise, sort of personalized ChatGPT deployments and things like that.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a major.
All those other startups building the ChatGPT.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's just consumer-facing brands. It's everyone from Bank of America to Nike. That's going to want to have a user-facing sort of automated.
No, that is their main. I think you said this on a podcast a while back that you thought it was.
It's a B2B2C. That's their thing. But also they have just B2C, which is if you are a premium user of ChatGPT, there's a free version, but for power.
Well, it's subscriptions and licensing, and I don't know what the breakdown between the two was. But it's about about $4 billion, and it was something in that ballpark.
But
which is a meaningful amount of money. But
and if they can reach Google levels of ubiquity as a product, where it's just a verb and everyone's using it, and then they raise their prices, I think they're going to be just fine. And that's what they're going for. That goes back to the grab market share at all costs and just be the market leader. And in the meantime, it's just going to be damn expensive to get there, and that's just what they're enduring. And they've talked their investors into thinking.
Yeah. And I think at what point will they be in the tens, hundreds of billions of revenue, which I think eventually they probably will. Which is Facebook and Google numbers.
I mean, that's how you build tech giants, and they're just following the playbook. I mean,
Okay, so The takeaway here is OpenAI is in trouble. We're not worried.
Yeah, we're not worried. No one's playing the violin just yet for OpenAI.
Yeah, I kept mine in the box, in the case. I wasn't tuning it up or anything like that. So okay, Mike.
Well, the biggest loser in all this is probably the environment in terms of just like
the one thing I said, and I've written about this before. I did one post a while back about, and I basically sort of the throwaway line in that all was, is AI replacing crypto as the climate scold's favorite target? And
yeah.
And I think that might actually be happening, or it will happen. Because
I think it was
right.
you that wrote. I think it was you that wrote somewhere in an article that we published at one point that every ChatGPT query is the equivalent of like running an incandescent light bulb for an hour or something like that.
It was something, and I pulled that out of somebody else's reporting, which is kind of how that usually works. But I think I did share something like that, and there was a stat like that, and there's always a stat like that. It's just like burning a candle, whatever. And yeah, so there are massive energy hogs, and again.
Yeah.
I think people are going to complain less about Bitcoin's energy use and more about AI's energy use. And I remember we wrote something somewhere else about they're building a data center in, Kenya, and it was tied to AI, and they were using geothermal energy to build it because as they're building these things now, the sustainability is a much bigger part of the thinking because I think they're trying to get ahead of the notion, and Microsoft is involved in this somehow. They're trying to get ahead of the idea that they're going to be the, whipping boy for climate activists, and for probably legit reasons, because they are massive energy users. So they're going to have to figure out how to make this more sustainable. I don't know if that's going to drive costs up or down. It might drive them up, but that's another part of the equation here. One, how do you get the compute costs down so that OpenAIs of the world don't implode? And then how do you make the training, et cetera, all this stuff that uses all this energy on a more sustainable energy platform? Those are big questions.
Well, Meta has built a lot of server centers in Antarctica just because of the, geothermal, like just
just drill deep enough.
Yeah. Pump in some outside air, and you're good.
Yeah, I got a great job out of college, Mom. I'm going to Antarctica to run a data center.
Server farm.
Yeah, oh man. I mean, I think we're going to see more of that sort of thing, which is why I remember a while back I saw something about Bitcoin miners all going sort of in Washington state to use hydroelectric energy for Bitcoin mining. So, and I don't know if they're still there, but, Bitcoin is still a thing, actually going up. But yeah, that is always that's going to be sort of the thing that's one of the monkeys on their back is how do we make this sustainable? And the other is how do we drive down the cost? And those could be in conflict, to some degree. Anyway, Mike, we could end it there. Why don't you read us out?
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. This has been This Week in Local. Stay tuned every week for more episodes. You can find the show on all major podcast networks and find out more at locology.com. So please subscribe, like, and comment. Your engagement helps others find us. And if you're interested in being a guest or sponsor, you can email us at podcast@locology.com. So I'm Mike Boland with Charles Laughlin. Our producer is Dara Sweat. So thanks for listening and see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Locology's This Week in Local with Mike Boland and Charles Laughlin. Be sure to subscribe for more.